What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well today. So excited to have this live stream as again we're going to be talking a lot about the spring game that happened yesterday. Again, a dominant win by the red team, 50-0, and I think covered the spread as well. Bet if I had to guess on it as well. So, but again, glad to see. First of all, obviously, mainly no major injuries as far as we know, or even minor injuries for what we know, really. And I think really, that's honestly the biggest thing that you want in a spring game. So definitely got to give a hats off that. But again, for those who have been with us or haven't been with us, before, just make sure again send us a comment. Let us know who's here. Want to know who's here with us. And again, we'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, concerns during the spring game. And again, just kind of have a little fun discussion here. So again, we'll start off talking about the spring game, but then we'll definitely talk some baseball as well as obviously again an interesting series to say the least. And again, we'll talk more about that here against Virginia Tech here. But Greg, I'll let you kind of go first. So, I mean, obviously, again, 50-0. I think there's a lot of positive to talk about with yesterday. Not really much negative, really, which is, is very exciting. Obviously, heading into is what is probably going to be and already is such an optimistic 2022 football season here. But what were your kind of initial thoughts, Greg? Kind of thinking back at the game yesterday.
Let me unmute there. The first thing that stood out is that the white team did get one touchdown, so let's give them their credit. They're due. They did score a touchdown. And yeah.
Oh yeah, they were the fourth, 50-7.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We don't want to shortchange anyone. But
absolutely not.
I thought the first team, obviously the red team, showed out on both sides of the ball. The offense, led by Leary, he was like it would have been like the bowl game. I mean, he picked right up where he left off after the last regular season game, was real sharp. I thought in limited action, the running backs did okay. I mean, obviously it was, thud. They were playing thud, which anyone doesn't know. It's basically aggressive two-hand touch. And so they had limited opportunities. So basically it was just mostly for the quarterbacks and wide receivers. But yeah, I thought everyone did really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, starting off, obviously talking about Devin Leary, so kind of throw some stats out here for you. Yep. So Devin Leary was 26 for 34 for 355 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I think he had pretty much all of that in the first half. I don't even think
he didn't play it all in the second half at all. No, it was all
so 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. And also, too, got to give props as well that Devin Leary wasn't sacked a single time. So, again, we'll talk a little bit more about the offensive line, but, I think that's impressive for sure. So, again, I think for all of us, we knew heading into this season that Devin Leary is going to be a star for us. And, I think one of the stories that really was really exciting was when they were doing the pro day, and there was reports of some amazing passes that Devin Leary was throwing to C.J. Riley or Mecca Mezzi, whoever it was. And basically scouts were coming over to the coach's staff and being like, are you sure that Devin Leary's not going in the draft this year? And so, basically giving the hint, like, we're very interested in him. Like, he looks really good. And so, again, it's cool to see, again, just, people buying into really how talented this guy is. And so I think, one of the biggest questions really heading for me yesterday was, besides Devin Carter and Thayer Thomas, who are going to be our other options at the wide receiver spot. And I think there were a couple of names that really stood out yesterday. 2 specifically were Anthony Smith and Keon Lesane. And Keon Lesane, I want to talk about him first because he was a guy last year, and I think over the last 2 years, really, that I wasn't really seeing a lot, and they weren't really using him a lot. He was just more kind of like a jet sweep guy, but didn't really see the ball much or didn't really see that much action. So honestly, I was kind of expecting after last season that he would transfer out or whatever it was. But he's really come out strong. He made one incredible catch yesterday. So he got 6 targets, caught 5 of them for 88 yards. He had a long catch for 41 yards. So. So again, that's one guy I want to talk about on top of Anthony Smith, who I think that we all kind of expect to take a step forward this year. So,
Yeah, I think with both of those guys, the one thing that really stands out is their speed. Both real big speed guys. I
Yes.
think the one thing that I think the coaching staff was looking for is more consistency catching the ball.
Hmm.
If you want to, I hate comparing players, but if you look at like the Mecca over the years, he was great on those 50-50 balls, and he was really aggressive. And I think that's kind of what they're looking for out of both of those two.
Hmm.
But yeah, that catch Lassane had was, I mean, it was insane. Um,
Yes.
it was a great catch in the corner for his one
Hmm.
touchdown. But yeah, if we can get some real good consistency catching the ball from those two, I don't think we're going to have a drop off at all in wide receiver. In fact, there's even guys behind those two that can still move out, like you said with Gray, and then the transfer from Maryland Jones. I think it was Jones,
Hmm.
right? I think it was Jones. And then
Yes.
let's not forget Porter Rooks. I mean, if we can get some stuff out of him, so
Oh yeah.
we're going to run pretty deep on that wide receiver core. So I don't think we're going to have any problems. And then just think about this too. You have Devin Leary throwing to him, and I think Devin Leary is one of those quarterbacks that make his receivers better, not or necessarily the receivers make him better. So
Yes.
if you're looking at that, I think the sky's the limit for the wide receiving room.
Yeah. And and the one thing too, which I will say is, I mean, the one interception which he did throw, it was basically a post corner route, and Leary underthrew it. So I mean, but I mean, it was one of those throws where it was a tough throw because basically you had to throw it basically where your guy could get, nobody else did, but
Yeah.
basically he just threw it right to the wide receiver. And so then the cornerback was able to get under it and pick it off. So again, learning point there for sure. But again, I definitely don't see any drop off from last year. In fact, I see hopefully a step forward this year. And because one thing too, actually, I want to talk about as well is he actually ran the ball 2 times for 31 yards. So he was actually the rushing average by far yesterday. Which I mean, he only rushed the ball 2 times, but again, it was kind of like an eye opener. Like definitely didn't expect him to see it. So I'm curious, Greg. I'm curious for those on the live stream here with us too to let us know. Like, do you see that being a part of Devin Lear's game this season?
Yeah, I mean, he had some good runs last year. He definitely is a smart quarterback where he'll go through his progressions, and then depending on what the last step is, whether it's a throwaway or a tuck and run, he's done a really good job at that.
Hmm.
In fact, unfortunately, the one play where he broke his leg against Duke, that was a great running play.
Yep.
Just didn't quite get down in time, but that's a thing I think that he's got in his arsenal if he needs it. And I think that's probably something that coaches will say, hey, I rewatched the replay. And the one thing that Coach Beck was saying is like, just don't turn the ball over. Just get us to the next play. And so if running the ball is that option, then go for it. And just be smart when you do it.
Yep. And then, we'll touch base here real quick on Ben Finley as well, who is obviously the clear number two behind Devin Leary. He was 15 for 21 yesterday, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And he threw, I'm sorry, I'm doing some math because he did some play with the red
Yeah.
team and some with the white team. And he threw for 171 yards. So again,
I,
15 for 21, 171 yards, two
I
touchdowns,
think the
one
more
interception.
important stats are when he was on the red team than the white team, because you have to remember he was on his second team. That's when he got sacked. He got sacked 3 times on the white, didn't get
Yes.
sacked at all on the red. So to me, the more important stats on that is the red side, not the white side, because he was playing with second and third stringers on the white side,
Yes, and on the
including his
red side,
line.
he was 6 for 7 for
Yep.
139 yards and 2 touchdowns, no
Yep.
interceptions on the red side. So I
Yep.
agree with you on that. So talking a little bit here about the rushing side. So I mean, again, there's no doubt that Jordan Houston's the guy. I think that's been all the reports, coming out of camp, without going into too much detail. But I mean, definitely from yesterday, you definitely, saw that just Jordan Houston's a guy that he's confident, he's comfortable, and that Leary is confident in him, that Beck is confident in what he can do. So I definitely am expecting a huge season from him this year. But also too, like Demi Sumo. I really, from what in terms of what I saw from him yesterday, again, I think it's kind of the opposite. Where again, you saw a lot of the talent that coaches have been raving about from him from camp, but you kind of saw a little bit of younger mistakes. I think he actually fumbled the ball one time, if I'm not mistaken. But again, just he's a guy that, again, just give more reps. He'll get there. He'll get back into the role. Because again, Trent Penix didn't even play yesterday.
Right.
So I mean, he's a
The
guy they're
tool.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
Needed to
Yeah,
who?
not Thule. None of our tight ends
Oh
played
yeah,
last
right,
year.
right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. Yep,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. But I mean, even like Michael Allen, you know, he is a guy too that again he's fresh out of high school as well, but and he ran for a touchdown. So again, I think there's a lot of options there between Demi Sumo, Michael Allen, and even Delbert Mims as well. You know, is a guy that you know could definitely compete for um you know some minute or some touches as well. So I think that for the running back spot, obviously having a guy like Zonovan Knight and Ricky Person. You know, those are two guys that were very experienced last year, very talented, very different in terms of the games they play. So I think this year you're going to kind of see more kind of obviously you're going to ride Jordan Houston a lot, but kind of after that, it's like, you know, Trent Penix, but, you know, how much do you see Demi Sumo? How much do you see maybe Michael Allen? It's going to be interesting, but again, it's nice that we don't have to necessarily rely on like, okay, game one, we need to have that running back position figured out. Like, it's like, no, I mean, I think that we're confident enough in Houston and Penix that they can split the touches, but also
Remember,
too that
Penix plays tight end now. Penix is a tight end now.
full time is that
Yeah, yeah, he moved over there last year. Yeah,
oh well, I mean, he's a guy too. I mean, I think that you know whether it's jet sweeps or whatever it is that we can get
yeah,
him
you
the
could definitely
ball,
run him in jet sweeps.
and,
Yeah,
and that's more what I'm saying is I mean he used to
gotcha.
play running back, you know. So I
Yeah,
mean you know he's a guy that he has the confidence now that if Jordan Houston has to step out, you know, play whatever it is that like you know if coaches aren't 100% you know positive on like you know if this play works for Demi Sumo, then you know throw a guy like Trent Penix in there, like you know let's see
sure.
what he can do. But you know obviously we got more time, and because one thing I want to mention as well is that you know right now basically for those who don't know we're actually over the scholarship head count, so we're actually are that means that there has to be some guys that leave between now and the beginning of next
August
season,
1st. Yeah,
August 1st.
yeah,
So between now and August 1st. And so, but also too, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either. Like, you know, I know that we're going after the offensive tackle from Vanderbilt. So would love to have him if we can. But I mean, wouldn't be surprised as well, you know, if, you know, maybe Doran knocks on some doors from the running back side. But I mean, you know, I think like really looking at this team, you know, I mean, there's really not that many holes really, which is again a great thing right now. I think honestly, and again, we'll talk about Anthony Belton and the offensive line, but I mean, really, like if you got that Vanderbilt offensive tackle transfer, I'm pretty happy with this team that we have going into next season. Really, that's really, I mean, because defensive side again, we're going to talk about that as well. But defense was dominant yesterday, absolutely
yeah.
dominant. So, and
Yeah.
again, we didn't even play without Isaiah Moore and Peyton Wilson. And so, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to touch on the running backs yesterday. The stats aren't going to jump out at you as far as the rushing numbers again, just due to the way they were playing. It was
Yes,
basically just again aggressive two hand touch. So
yes,
you didn't get a chance to see the running backs bounce off of tackles or break tackles. So
true.
those yards after contact won't obviously show up in the stats. But the one thing I will say that I was really impressed with by all the running backs is they all caught the ball really well out of the
They
backfield.
did. You're right.
Whether it was on a swing pass or a bubble screen or just just outside of the line of scrimmage, they all made great catches in that regard. And then they've all got great speed. So if you can get them out in space with that speed, and then potential breaking tackles, I think you've got some makings for some big plays there from the running back position. And that's not something that we've really utilized a lot of. Bam caught the ball a little bit last year out of the backfield, but
Hmm.
I love both of our backs from last year, but they just didn't catch the ball as great as I think as these running backs are going to. But if
Yeah.
that's potentially another weapon that we can pull out of the arsenal.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and believe it or not, Houston actually didn't even get a target yesterday. But like you were
Right.
saying, like Demi Sumo actually got 4 targets, caught
Mhm.
all 4 of them. Delbert Mims had 2 targets, caught one. Michael Allen had 2 targets, caught both of them. So yeah, I mean, again, for between 3 running backs only having 1 drop, I mean, that's that's a great thing to see. And again, you didn't even get Jordan Houston involved. And honestly, I think
Right.
that's really Jordan Houston's strength is really the swing game, you know, not necessarily being a full, you know, workhorse like running back per se, but more kind of like a Swiss Army knife kind of a deal. So yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And again, because I think that's really the 2 biggest things heading into next season that are really the most important is first of all, which is kind of like the biggest umbrella, is we can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We can't turn the ball over. You know, we can't make, you know, dumb mistakes. You know, just like you were saying, you know, just get us the next play, get the first down, Like, don't be a hero. Again, we have options. We have options, so you don't have to do it all by yourself. Just do your job, make the play, get downfield, and
Yep.
that's it. But again, don't turn the ball over, don't drop the ball. Like, again, we just need consistency and keep people healthy. That's the other thing as
Yep.
well. Got to stay
Yep.
healthy. Holy smokes, got to stay
Especially on
healthy,
defense. Especially on
especially
defense.
on defense. And not necessarily too. Obviously, like I think that I feel like we're very deep on the defensive side, for sure on all fronts, defensive line, linebackers, and secondary. But yeah, I mean, obviously in this case, we want our stars out there, especially for this season. And but
Yeah.
because one thing too that I think is kind of a positive is that honestly, I'm actually kind of glad in that perspective that we see Clemson early. I think they're like the first AC game for us this upcoming year, without looking at the schedule. So, so I mean, I think that that's good. I mean, obviously, gives us the best chance of being the healthiest, and because I truly do feel this year that if we're healthy, competing against Clemson, that we should have the upper hand. Obviously, we're playing at Death Valley this year, which is definitely different. But one thing as well is, I mean, with us beating Clemson last year, is that I mean we have an opportunity this year, which I don't know. Again, I'd have to go back and look at the stats, but I mean, when's the last time an ACC team has beaten Clemson 2 years in a row? I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be very rare, if not, it has
Yeah, I
to
don't
have
think
been a
it's. I
while
don't.
since that's
Yeah, I
happened.
don't think it's happened in the last. Well, since they've started this run, their national
Yeah,
championship runs.
I
I.
agree.
Yeah,
So it has
because
to be at least a good 9-10 years. I feel like since
yeah, I
teams
feel
beat
like
them 2 years in a row.
yeah, because of the way the ACC schedule rotates, they definitely
Yeah.
haven't they haven't definitely lost to Atlantic teams, and then the coastal they play so sparingly at. So because I know Pitt beat them,
Mhm.
I think they lost to like Georgia Tech, I think 1 year, but yeah, I don't think any teams beat them back to back years in
Yep.
quite some time. So yeah, that would be great, and we haven't won down there, I think in what 10, 12 years, something like that. It might even be longer than that. It might even be longer than 12 years now that I'm thinking about it. So
Yeah, no,
that
because
would be
I
that would be a
because I'm
big month.
because I remember it was because we definitely haven't beaten him under Doran at Clemson, obviously. And then
Right.
with
That's 10
O'Brien,
years.
yeah, and then with O'Brien, the last time he played at Clemson was that like 69 to 50 something game where Glennon had like a ridiculous amount of yards, but we still lost. And
Yeah.
then 2010 was when we had Russell Wilson. We went there, and honestly, we should have won that game, but we didn't, as that would have
It,
pretty much
it might,
had pretty much gotten us to the ACC championship game.
yeah.
So we lost that one as well. So yeah, I mean, it's been since probably
It
at
might be
least
20. It
2008.
might be 20 years. It might be
Really?
20. It might be because you think about it, we only play there every other year. So
Right.
so
So it has to be
so
at least since 2008, at
yeah.
least, if not
So that's
earlier.
14. But yeah, ooh, yeah. Ooh,
Yeah. So it's been a
that
while.
would be
Yeah.
that's one we need to get off our back for sure. And
Yeah.
I think obviously beating them last year, you know that you can compete with them, right? I mean, not that they ever doubted that they can compete, but they know now that they can beat them, right? And it's because a lot of it's just psychological. You have the physical talent. Sometimes it's just getting over the mental hump. So they did that
Mhm.
last year, obviously beating them here in Raleigh, and
Mhm.
and like you said, it's early in the season. So we should be fairly healthy going into that game.
Mhm.
Obviously later in the season, you got more injuries to deal with. So, yeah, I think we've got the makeup to do it. It's just
Mhm.
about execution at this point.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right on that. And I mean, because one thing too that I know we've talked about before, but again, I want to kind of preface again is one things I love now about this program is I truly think that look at that in game
See,
14 off
I
the
said 20
last
years.
the last time we beat Clemson at Clemson was October 24th, 2002. Wow, that's unbelievable.
I said
That's
20 years.
crazy. Wow, that's unbelievable. I'll have to
Yeah.
tweet that out. That's a heck of a stat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because one of the things that I think that we've gotten to one of the things I love about this program is that we've gotten to that point where we know how to win,
Yeah.
and that's something that not many programs have. Because, for example, I always love using Clemson as the example because that's the most
Sure. They're the
kind of
benchmark.
closest. Well, yeah, well, they're the closest team that I've seen every single year, and I've seen them get to that point where they know how to win. Because even when
Hmm.
they had Taj Boyd and Sammy Watkins, they didn't have it then. It was really
Right.
when they got Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, Vic Beasley. That's when they took that next step and figured
Yeah.
out how to win. And
Yeah.
so
Consistently.
exactly, and because when I say to how to win, I'm basically saying that they go into that game not only just saying we're going to win, they know like throughout their body, they have no doubts in their mind they're going to go win, and no matter what position they're in, they're going to find a way to win. Like the game when we played them in 2016 or
Mm-hmm.
17 when we played them at home. So I always love saying that again. I mean, like that. So take a look at those first 3-4 minutes of that game. First 3-4 minutes, they basically, I think it was on third down, 3 plays in, they threw the ball, threw interception, Tim K Glass, and obviously just sent the air roof on Carter
Yeah.
Finley just right off the stadium. I mean, just the fans went freaking nuts. And then a couple plays later, Finley threw a beautiful pass to Kelvin Harmon for a touchdown and punched in the mouth early. And I mean, it wasn't just a punch; it was like a Superman punch. Like I mean, and for them to be able to find a way to come back and still win that game, just I mean, again, that's a perfect example of a team that even though they got absolutely just Superman punched from the get go, they still found a way to come together, make the plays they need to, get back into the game, and take it from us. And so again, I mean, but we've gotten to that point. I mean, how many games last year? I mean, like even the year before, like that Pitt game where I mean, we won at Pitt. That was an impressive win for sure. And I mean, last
I
year, I
was
mean,
there.
and coming back against Carolina last year, beating Clemson.
Yeah.
There's just something that I love, and again, it's why to me I don't understand anybody who still has any kind of thought in their mind of that Dorn is not the guy. Like there's no conversation for that anymore. Dorn's the guy. He's going to be the
Yeah.
guy for now. He's going to be the guy for the long term in my eyes. So
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I agree, and I think last year laid the blueprints on how to hopefully get this year done. You know,
mhm,
they had that never say die mentality, and obviously the Carolina game, the end of the season, was the culmination of that, where you know, it looked bleak, but the team believed in themselves, and they just kept fighting and playing the next play, and just finally found a way. I mean, and that's what it's about. It's not about, you know, style points or whatever. It's about getting that W at the end of the day. So if it's a day
mhm,
where Leary throws 4 interceptions but the team wins, okay, we win. Like, I don't care. Like, I think
yep,
the players will say the same. Now they'll go in and obviously and correct any mistakes that they made and clean up whatever it was. But at the end of the day, it's about the team and getting wins. And
yep,
if they get that done, then all right, so be it. And
yep,
I would rather win the game. I'd rather win the games 10-9 and go undefeated than winning 52-45. I honestly don't care how we do it. And let's just go get W's and take that
absolutely.
next step.
Absolutely. And again, too, I mean, obviously a lot of this will really change, you know, again, once we get closer, and we'll definitely do kind of more of a breakdown of schedule once we get closer to the start of the season. But I mean, obviously it's, you know, with everything you saw yesterday, obviously really kind of start bring up, I mean, what should be potentially the biggest season of any sport, potentially in the history, and you know, besides maybe the 83 championship winning, again, one of the biggest seasons really in NC State athletics history. I mean, again, just because again, they're really how long this has been building up for. I mean, again, Doran came here I think he was hired in November of 2012. So, I mean, we're coming up on him being with the program for 10 years. And I mean, I mean, overall, you've seen every single year us really get better and better and better. But also, too, again, I mean, I think that obviously with us having one of the biggest droughts in all of college athletics in terms of championship droughts, with how competitive the ACC has gotten between Clemson, Louisville's getting better. Wake Forest has gotten really good. Carolina's jumping up. That I mean, if we can say that we won the ACC championship, I mean, not only I mean for any other program that's huge, but I mean
Yeah.
for us especially, that's astronomical. That's unmeasurable, and really for looking at this schedule, it plays really well to it. I mean, like for example, like if you had to ask me what are two teams I'd want to play home this year, I'm saying Wake Forest, Clemson second, but I'm saying Boston College third. I don't want to play Boston College at Boston College if I have to. I think that we played really well last year and found a way to again get to Boston College's, you know, get underneath their skin and take them out early.
Yep.
But I mean, Boston College is a good program now. I mean, there's no doubt they have a great coach there, but also too Wake Forest. Again, I'm yeah, but because to kind of give a kind of quick overview of the ACC schedule, so we play Florida State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Boston College at home, and then we play at Louisville, at UNC, at Syracuse, and at Clemson. So, I mean, those last two against Louisville and UNC are going to be very interesting for sure. And so,
Yeah, to your point, I feel like Chestnut Hills and Winston-Salem has been a house of horrors for us for whatever reason. We just don't play well in those locations, whether it's the cold weather in Boston College or just again something fluky with Wake Forest. It's just one of those. It's one of those non-rivalry games that it just. I don't know. I think it's like every time we play Wake Forest, maybe sometimes they get up more than we do. For the game, it's always something. Like I don't know why we struggle so much against Wake Forest. Boston College we usually handle very easily at home. I can't remember. It's been a while since they beat us here in Raleigh, but typically
16.
Okay. All right, so little sooner than I thought it was, but
yeah.
But yeah, it for whatever reason, like I said, it's just we struggle against those two teams, and then we do usually really well. Like historically, we've done pretty well against Florida State, especially in the last 15, 20 years. When they first came in, we were one of the few teams that did give them problems, and then they kind of got back at us. But now we've kind of cemented doing really well against them. And obviously, Carolina is a 50-50 game. I don't care what the records are. That Carolina showed that last year playing us. It's just one of those games where whoever gets up higher, then will usually win that game. Louisville, is one of those teams that we've done pretty well against them since they've come in the league. The Lamar Jackson years were a little tougher, but I think we went 500 against Lamar, so that's not too bad. And then Virginia Tech's one of those sneaky teams where we just don't see them a lot, so we don't pay attention to them. But we've struggled against Virginia Tech. In fact, I think you were on the team on that game when we played them last in Blacksburg. I think, right? Weren't you with the team? Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was, and that was the rain game. So
yeah, that was a nasty game. Yeah, but I like our chances this year, though.
Well, I mean, looking at our schedule too, I mean, like really every single game. So 9 out of the games I'm circling is like, man, those are going to be like good, tough games. And obviously the 3, which I'm not really circling, is Charleston Southern, UConn, and Syracuse. But besides that, I mean, ECU, that's huge for more for us at NC State really than necessarily nationally, obviously. But Texas Tech at home. Yeah, right. Yeah. And then Texas Tech at home, and then you got the rest of the ACC schedule. So I mean, again, it's going to be a doozy. But again, it just speaks about the depth of the ACC that literally Clemson, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Boston College, Louisville, and UNC. I'm all looking as like they're going to be tough games. I mean, there's no doubt they're going to be tough games.
Honestly, we should be favored in all but one game. If you're just looking at it face value right now. Clemson, should be the only one. And the reason I say we and like with regards to Wake Forest, we'll probably get the home field advantage right there for the point spread. So even that could be a pick'em game, but I think we would be probably a field goal favorite in that one. But the only other one I see we might, again, this all depends, injuries and all that but I'm just saying at the beginning of the season, if you had to map it out, the only other game that I see that we might not be would be the Carolina game, just because it's at their stadium. But I mean, we're obviously a better team, at least on paper, than they are. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason why, we should lose more than one game, no more than 2 during the regular season. Like it should be it should be at least 10 wins in the regular season for this team.
Absolutely.
I think anything else would be considered would be considered a disappointment. And the one thing you were saying about expectations, I think the last time a team had this high of expectations was probably TJ Warren's freshman year. I think we were like 5 or 6 in the preseason polls, and that season didn't turn out too well. But I think this is probably the highest rated team going into a season, next to that basketball season.
For men's basketball and football. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And because really too, I mean, like again, we'll talk more about this schedule stuff as well when we get closer. So maybe we'll just go ahead and move on. We'll come back to it because obviously again, there's gonna be a lot that changes even between now in August. There's gonna be a ton that's gonna change between now and then as well. So one touch base at in-game 14 Alpha says it's going to be a journey for me to come to games this year after much thought and consideration with friends and family. I have decided to attend UNC Asheville to major in atmospheric science. Well, cool. Congratulations, bud. Appreciate you letting us know about that. That's awesome. And then Ted, I see your comments too about wrestling. We'll touch base about that here in a second. But in-game also says I'm going to be in Greenville for that game. I made a joke to my dad's friend Howard, who was one of the top Pirate Club donors, that I would be one red dot in the middle of the ECU student section. Hey, I like it. Because that's tough. I've seen the ECU student section a couple times, and they are not quite kind to away folk.
I think especially for the I hate to use analogy sometimes, but it's kind of like Carolina thinking that we're not their rivalry. We don't think necessarily as ECU as a rivalry where they feel like they are made one of our big rivalries for them. To your point, I think the hostilities are definitely there when you go over to Greenville.
Oh no, I mean for me it's a game that I get nervous inside thinking about, just because I mean it's been a while since we beat ECU at ECU. Like we're talking about droughts here with Clemson and stuff like that. It's been a while since we beat ECU at ECU. The last two times we played them and beat them was at home. And obviously definitely with Coach Mo's first year at ECU and losing the way we did was that was I'm not a fan of Coach Mo, but hey, it is what it is. That's all.
This could be a year of breaking some streaks. So let's maybe shoot for those. Obviously, in the first one starts in Greenville, I think in 146 days, if my high school math is right.
You're right. It's probably going to feel like 146 degrees too. So it's funny you say that. So but yeah, so one other thing too I want to talk about as well that I wanted to touch on was Chris Dunn. He was super impressive yesterday, kicking 3 field goals for 29 yards, 35 yards, and 53 yards. So to end the first half too. So again, I mean, it was super great to see some consistency, see those long field goals get made, and I mean, I think he honestly could have made that 53 yarder. It looked like he could have gone for easily about 58 or 60. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So
it was plenty of height and was right down the middle. So
it was beautiful kick. Beautiful kick.
We're definitely gonna need him this year. The one game that he had a chance to show out was that Clemson game, and he missed that field goal at the end. He hasn't been put in a whole lot of pressure points throughout his career at State. It's hard to believe this is his 5th year too. So this will be the last year we have for him. So that'll be a new position to break in for next year. But he's definitely got the leg. I know he's struggled at times. I know he had some injury issues. He had some groin issues there for a little bit. So hopefully maybe all that's past him and he's fully healthy and he can bang the ball through for us. But yeah, there's going to be some games where, it's going to be a 3-point or maybe a less than a touchdown game where we're going to need some crucial points. And I think every kick's going to matter for him this year. So hopefully he goes out and does his thing.
Absolutely, man. And again, I always say too, folks, at the end of the day, Chris Dunn, I mean, there's no doubt from the swagger that he has when you see him play that he's always going to have in the back of his mind that field goal against Clemson. He's always going to have that in his mind. He's going to use that as motivation heading into this year. And I mean, I'm telling you, like, if it comes down to it, if he has to kick a field goal at Clemson, I'm not one that's going to be, making the jokes or whatever about, things that have happened in the past. I feel confident he's going to, that he's even going to make sure even more that those field goals go through the uprights. And I'm truly confident about that. But I mean, again, he's already, competing right there for the top of being, the one of our better kickers in state football history, so
we've had some good ones
as well. Yeah, no, absolutely.
We've had like 4 or 5 in the NFL kick. So,
so
I mean, without him, we don't win that Carolina game, right? I mean, he's the one that kicks the onside kick and recovers it, and
unsung hero.
Absolutely. So it may not even be a field goal that matters next year. It could be like another onside kick where we need him. So don't forget, there's multiple points in the kicking game. So I think he's going to be. I think again, I'm not worried. He's been there, done that. He's a 5th year senior, where we're whatever we're calling them these days, COVID seniors, whatever the term is we're using. But he's got the moxie, and that's a big thing you need for kickers. And he's just got grit, and I think he's going to go out and just bang it through and just do his thing. So that's one position I'm definitely not worried about.
No, absolutely not. So again, we will break down this roster more once it's more set in stone. Again, obviously a lot of things are going to change between now and August 1st. But again, we'll definitely talk more about that. But again, overall, in summary, great spring game. Everybody stayed healthy. Offense looked very good. Defense looked dominant, even without a lot of players like Isaiah Moore's, the Peyton Wilsons, play without Trent Penix, things like that.
Yeah, we had 6 out on defense, and I think like those 6 that were on defense are starters. So
Yeah.
If you think about it, the first team defense was half second team defense, if that makes sense, because those guys would be slotted into
right.
Second. They would have been on the white team. But I think there's a lot to be shown there. The offensive line, again, like you said, we'll talk about it more later in the offseason, but that still needs to get shuffled out. But I thought guys did a good job. They had opportunities with Grant Gibson being out yesterday that they shuffled around some guys in some positions just to get them some looks. Yep. But there'll be a ton to work out.
And for Leary to again not get sacked again, that's huge. And I mean, Anthony Belton at left tackle looked solid, looked very very solid. Yeah. So again, no Ickey Ekwonu obviously, but again, I mean, you're not really going to find anybody. Everybody's saying, how are you going to replace Ickey? You're not going to replace Ickey, but you're just going to do the best you can. So so if we get the Vanderbilt transfer, great. If we don't, I feel confident enough with this coaching staff and with Coach Doran that he's going to figure it out. At the end of the day, they all know what's on the line, and I know they're going to head into August 1st with the team that they want, one way or another. So, so just keep that in mind, and just have faith, folks. Have faith, and Doran's gotten us to this point, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to deliver. Hopefully, what should be one of the most special seasons in NC State athletics history. That's what I'm hoping here. So,
you and me both, brother.
Absolutely. So let's touch real quick on Ted's comments about wrestling before we jump over to wrestling. Ted said, just a quick note, looks like 6 to 8 guys are coming off of State's wrestling roster for 2022-2023, but north of a dozen top flight recruits are coming in. Yes, there is a very star-studded recruiting class. According to Coach Pop, there is still a chance for Tariq to compete, though whether it's as an unattached athlete or officially with the Wolfpack RTC, Coach Pop didn't specify. So if I remember correctly, Tariq and Hayden, I think, are sticking around as kind of GAs / personnel developers, if I'm not mistaken.
I know Hayden for sure, but I'm not sure about Tariq.
Hayden, yes, but I'm talking more Tariq. I'm talking Tariq. Yeah. I think Tariq's sticking around, kind of on the developmental staff for the team. And then Hayden, Ted all said Hayden Hiley was teasing that there could be more than one freshman starting. Not sure about that, but hey, yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I mean, that'd be awesome. But I mean, just like, I said with football, wrestling, that applies even more. Like, who the heck knows what's going to happen for next year? Like, it's totally a toss-up, Ted. I mean, one thing which I will say once again is I think that just like this year, we're going to be spoiled with options. And between the recruits we have coming in, between the guys that we've had waiting the turn or that have already started last year, I think it's going to be a lot of great competition. And I think it's going to be a fun, again, at this point, we're not rebuilding, we're reloading. And that's all you got to really say on that. So thanks. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, the one thing is just interesting about wrestling, for folks that don't follow wrestling that often, and it's something that I learned is you only wrestle 10, and it's one in each weight class. So it's not like you can sub out in the second quarter and bring in a guy off the bench, right? So the best 10 wrestle, whether it's a freshman or it's a sophomore or whoever it is whoever's the top dog that week will wrestle. And that's something that we definitely saw this year in the heavyweight class, where they rotated about at least 2, maybe 3 guys. I'm trying to remember, but there was at least a couple of folks that were wrestling in and out. That's the one unique thing about wrestling. So if the freshman's the best guy, then he's going to get the call. But yeah, so I that's the one sport that's really interesting in that regard. It just is just a different setup.
Yep. And Ted makes a joke that spoiled is bad for fruits, but not
Mhm.
bad for wrestling rosters. Absolutely.
True
And then
story.
Endgame also says a wolf does not concern himself with the opinions of sheep.
I
Absolutely
hope he's
love
not calling me a
love that
sheep.
quote. I doubt it. So talking some baseball. So obviously, so first thing I want to say is obviously for those who don't know, we lost against Virginia Tech. At Virginia Tech, 2-1 in the series, 2 games to 1. But the first thing I want to say is I'm not really feeling disappointment as more as just kind of like, I mean, it was kind of one series. I mean, again, the first 2 games where we lost, first game we lost 21-10, and then the second game we lost 8-2. And I mean, both games were really weird in that and during both games, you had whether was hail, sleet, snow,
Oh,
rain, like wind, all kinds of different freaking weather during those 2 games. But then third game, the game today was perfect weather and we won 10-3. So I'm just saying to myself, like, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not making excuses by any means, but just saying, like,
It's just
typically
weird.
you're not going to play baseball games in that kind of weather. I mean, they played through the game. They didn't. I mean, they paused for a little bit yesterday when the field was literally covered in snow, but besides that, they played through it.
I
And
was
so
looking for the
I'm
Zamboni, but I didn't
right.
see one when
Oh
they.
my gosh, that's a great yes. That is. Oh my gosh, that's a great metaphor per se, if you want to call it
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
um, but again, I mean, like Kane Silver today. I mean, I think he pitched 6 innings,
yeah.
gave up, I think 2 hits, and
It was solid. Really good outing.
I mean, he was great today. And again, I mean, we hit the ball well today. Again, hitting 10 runs. Tommy White tied or broke the freshman record for home runs in a season, which I mean, I think for all of us would say that, I mean, that's not really a shocker after obviously how we started off the season.
Yeah,
But again, it's so to me, really, again, at the end of the day, baseball is again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I feel like today, from what you saw today alone, Devontae Brown had a great game. That I'm still feeling coming out this weekend feeling good. I mean, we're 7-7 overall in the ACC. We're 19-11 overall record. And really looking at the rest of the season here. So again, I think we got 4, 5. So I mean, we still got 6 series left in the season. So we still got a lot of baseball left. And we get another shot here. UNCW coming up here this week. Boston
yeah.
College would go to Louisville. Radford at home. UNC at home, at Duke, and then Wake Forest at home. So a ton of
Thankfully,
baseball
that
left.
Boston College series is here because if not, we might have another series like we had at Virginia Tech. It
You
was
are
real cold
100% right.
yeah, it was real cold up in the Northeast this weekend. There was all kinds of snow up there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just looking for consistency at this point. It's a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde. Again, it's still a young team, so we're still making the mental errors here and there. We're hitting the ball. I mean, we're scoring runs. It's the defense and the pitching, and then it's just I don't know. I mean, we'll get it. I feel like we still have time to get it together, and there's still plenty of season. But it's just we're getting to that point where we need to figure it out sooner rather than later. I'm not ready to hit the panic button, obviously, but
No.
we just need to figure it out. And I think you're definitely seeing that. I think you with just the pitching combinations that you're seeing, coaches throwing different folks out there, guys that weren't getting starts earlier in the season are getting starts. I
Yep.
know Sam's been injured a little bit, so they've been having to pull him back. So some of what coach is doing is out of necessity, just to kind of figure out who we can go with for starters, and then when
Yep.
you got to pull a guy out of the bullpen to make him a starter, then you have to figure your back end out. So it's just a give and take right now. So hopefully all of this just makes the team, all this adversity right now that we're going through, only
Mhm.
makes them stronger come the postseason.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, because even like I think college baseball 365 or something like that tweeted out something basically saying that any team who loses their star starting pitcher
Hmm.
for a series or even for a couple series would cripple any team. And so for us to, even without Sam Highfill, overall in really today, obviously, again, because I'm really kind of almost just like not going to say erasing the first 2 games because we lost, because I mean,
Yeah,
but it's just a lot
it's
of
just
like, again,
weird.
you're not going to play games like that often. I guarantee you, probably more likely, we're not going to play another game like that this season. It was
Yeah,
just an odd weekend. But again, I understand probably why they played through it, because they were like, I mean, we want to get through this series, and
when
if
you
we
make it
stop
up,
this,
yeah,
then we're probably not gonna be able to make it up. And so I get it, but let's be real. At the end of the day, if it's kind of like I kind of use kind of the metaphor of like with the Green Bay Packers, that I always say that any team, unless you're like the Buffalo Bills, that isn't used to playing in temperatures like Green Bay offers, it offers an advantage to Green Bay because then they're used to playing in those conditions. While maybe somebody like like let's say like maybe a Tampa Bay Buccaneers that's maybe not Brady led, would maybe have a little bit of hard time kind of adjusting to that. It's a different game playing a game in conditions like that.
So
Again,
you say
not
that.
disrespect. Go ahead.
No, so you say that, and you use the Buccaneers as an example, and there was a stat there for many years that if the weather was below, like I think it was 40 degrees or 35 degrees, like the Bucks had never won a game in that conditions. It was they finally broke that streak probably about 15 years ago. And but to your point is taken. It's you have to get acclimated to the surroundings. It's like folks that go to play games in Denver with being mile high and the oxygen levels being different.
Correct.
Virginia Tech practices in those type of conditions, and maybe not snowing like it was yesterday, but at least the cold factor, right? And so
but more than we do.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And having talked with Rob Chamara, and in one of our chats earlier in the season, he says it's just hard for pitchers to get a grip on the ball. So if you're not used to those conditions and gripping the ball, knowing what pitches are going to work, and the wind being the way it is, and trying to work breaking balls or just hitting spots, it's a lot tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Beck Wolfpack's pretty much hits on the head right there, basically saying once we limit errors, things will start coming together. Errors have cost us a lot this year. Tommy looked sharp at third today. That's one change. Yeah, definitely interesting to see Tommy at third. I know typically that's been Josh Hood's area. So, but again, that's one of the things that again I say is that at the end of the day, as long as we're just trying to figure things out as we go. I think now we've kind of figured out our starting lineup in terms of what 9 we're going to play, but now it's just a matter of where are we playing them. It's just like we saw today, playing Tommy White at third, definitely different than having him as the DH. But again, I mean, it's right. So, but at the end of the day, just like Elliot Avon always says, if we can play our best ball in May, then that's all that matters. It doesn't even matter. I mean, as long as you're in the hunt heading into May and you're playing your best ball in May, that's the best case scenario. Period. Straightforward, one way or another. Again, that's really all that matters. So go ahead, Greg.
Biggest thing is you got to get to the dance floor, right?
Got to get to the dance floor. Amen to that.
So and again, get there, and then anything can happen. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I point out too. Again, this is a young team. This is a team that that as good as this season is, the following years will be even better. Again, I mean, Tommy White, once again, he's a true freshman. I mean, he's a guy that we still got 2 more years out of him. And, a guy like Josh Hope, we're going to see him again next year. So, again, things are only going to get better for this team. So definitely no reason whatsoever to hit the panic button. But again, one thing I love is I think I love this bullpen right now more than I have in recent past. I love this bullpen, especially with just our 5 main stars that we've seen: Kane Silver, Garrett Payne, Logan Whitaker, Sam Highfell, and Matt Willitson. I mean, those are 5 guys I think that Coach Clint Chrysler and Avon would feel confident starting any of those guys if they had to, whether it's midweek or weekend series. So, and then we could even just list off names. Also, too, again, Chris Villeman I feel like he's got to be up there for whatever the name is for closer of the year. He's got to be up there. That dude he's so good.
He's lights out.
He is lights out. Lights out indeed.
So you bring up a good point about that bullpen, right? Because last year we were very not shallow is the word, but just very short on relievers, and we, especially when we got to I guess college playoffs or whatever they call it, but when we were in regionals, super regionals, and the World Series, we were only going with the same guys every game. Like we only had maybe 2 or 3. This year I feel like we have 4 or 5. So it gives you more flexibility in different situations in the games. You're not asking those guys to go 3-4 innings on the back end. You can break it up and shorten the game with specialists. So I feel like that's going to pay off come postseason.
Yep. I agree with you on that. So again, it's a lot of positive there, a lot of positive, and still a ton of baseball left. So no worries whatsoever, at least from where I'm sitting here. One thing as well, I wanted to kind of touch base on too. Women's tennis lost at number 14, Virginia today, 4 games to 3. So again, definitely another tough loss here. For me, it's kind of one of those things with women's tennis. I mean, obviously they hit their stride early. I mean, they just came out just guns a blazing and just were beating top 25 teams left and right. And recently they've lost, I think, 3 of the last 4 matches against Virginia, UNC, and Duke, who were all top
All
15
top
teams.
15. Yep.
So again, I mean, not bad losses, but I mean, I think that we can all agree, especially from some of the comments that Coach Shaw has made, that obviously he and the girls have huge aspirations for this year. So hopefully you kind of look at it as okay, looking at it from the positive side, that hopefully this is kind of more of kind of a wake up call, kind of a okay, let's get back down to earth here, let's get realistic here, and let's figure this
Get
out, because
focused.
I think get refocused, exactly, because I think we got 2 more matches before ACC tournament. So again, I mean, we're still right there again, the top 10, top 15 in the country. So we're right there, with the best of the best. And so if we can, you know get regrouped, get things figured back out, get back to where we were, and again, playing our best tennis. When it comes to tournament time, then perfect. That's really kind of my mindset. Even though it was a disappointing loss for sure. I mean, I definitely thought that we would come out today with the win, but got to look at it as a positive, obviously there.
Yeah, when you lose 4-3, obviously it's a point here or there in one of the games, that you go, if you flip a point or two, then you get that game, and then potentially win a set, and then you win the game or the match. So, obviously it's we're not able to watch the games. It's really hard, so we kind of have to follow from afar. But 1 point here or 1 point there in one of those games is probably what you're looking at in the difference of the match, winning either 4-3 or losing 3-4. So, like you said, it's just get refocused. They'll probably fine. They'll clean it up and get ready for postseason play here in the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. I think you hit knocked on the head. Yeah, and so again, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on right now. I think it was a very exciting season. And one thing too, which I wanted to give a huge shout to as we're heading towards the end of this live stream here, is to NC State football. I think that yesterday, seeing what they did for the people of Gigi's Playhouse, seeing one of them score a touchdown at the end of the first half, seeing one of them sign a natural letter of intent. Seeing the players and the coaching staff really make these kids' days and weekends, was just unbelievable to see, and definitely brought a smile to my face, and I know probably for all the fans around us as well. And obviously they were smiling from ear to ear, and seeing after they scored a touchdown for them to lift him up and see the kid raising his arms in the air, like, that was awesome.
It was like Rudy. It was like Rudy getting carried off the field. It was really cool, man.
I loved it.
That's the one thing that we as adult fans need to remember, that these are 18 to 22, 23-year-old men that are learning to become men, right? And so it's not always about winning on the field; it's winning off the field. And the one thing that coach does, and all the coaches, is just teach these guys life lessons, and just to prepare them for life after football, whether that's life after college, whether that's going professional, becoming a finance guy, or whatever they decide to do in life. So yeah, exactly right. So that's a really great thing that they do for the community, and just teaching these guys to give back, and from everything that you see on social media that's put out in the news, this program does it right, and they've aligned themselves with some great causes, and it's great to see that.
Absolutely. And I mean, because that's one thing too I love about Coach Doran, is that he's a guy that not only does he set standards on the field, but he sets standards off the field, and he holds them to it. It's simple as that. And I mean, this is a team that, I mean, they are a family. They view themselves as family, all of them, inside and out, no doubt about it. And they fight for each other. They play for each other. And again, like I use the example of, once again, the Clemson game, that even though Chris Dunn missed a field goal, that the guys rallied around Chris and said, "We're not going to let that be the end of us. We're not going to let that be the end of this game." And I mean, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that I mean, I'll own up to it, that that for all those who've seen my reaction after beating Clemson, I mean, literally from the moment I clicked stopped on that video, I just busted out into tears. And I mean, just because, first of all, how huge that win was for this program, how
Yep.
huge it was for this door, and how huge it was for the fan base, but also too, like that, honestly, the way that we won with Chris missing the field goal, but still finding a way to come back and win just says
Mhm.
so much about where this program has come in terms of not only just talent wise, but again, just mentality. And again, it was just, it was such an amazing moment. And I mean, obviously, between that moment and then the beating UNC, uh, I think it was amazing for two different reasons. Clemson, it was huge just because, again, it shows where the program is. But then, UNC, it was like awesome because it was, I mean, UNC fans are never going to be able to live that down.
Mhm.
Just like Duke basketball never being able to live down to UNC that UNC was the team to first beat Coach K and the last team to beat Coach K. So Duke will never live that down. UNC will never be able to live down that they literally had a 99.9% chance to win per ESPN and lost. So we'll
Yeah.
never that's gonna be bragging rights forever.
Those big games mean a lot, not only to the fans but to recruits.
Yes.
When we pack Carter Finley when Clemson comes in top 10 team and you beat them on your home field with recruits in the stands watching,
Mm-hmm.
that motivates them to potentially sign with State. So we
Amen.
all have to do our part to support the program, and
Yep.
it's getting butts in seats, staying for the whole game, and giving that atmosphere and giving the players what they deserve. They're
Mhm.
laying it out on the line there on the field, and we got to respect that and give it right back to them.
Amen to that. And one thing too, I wanted to throw out there as well is obviously, this weekend we had the honor of sponsoring and participating in two different events for fundraisers for in-state sports. The first one also on Friday, we were in the ice pack golf tournament and raising money for our ice pack, and then the second one was yesterday. We were at the Vaughn Towers for the casino night for the Wolfpack RTC, which is our training team for the NC State hosts, I guess is the word for it, for wrestlers who are trying to compete at the, I guess, world level, basically after college. So the guys like the Nick Wisdowski, the Michael Machiavellos, the Tommy Gantz. So for those guys. And so raising money for them. And so one thing I do want to go ahead and put out there as well is once again, got to support all these teams. I know there's no doubt that by first of all joining the Wolfpack Club, that pays huge homage as well. But again, whether it's going to events for all these teams or even reaching out to them directly and asking them how you can help. I know that we were at the event yesterday, and one thing that kept on saying is, listen, we appreciate and can use all help that we can get. So, and they said they're 100% willing to discuss, talk about ways to help. I would definitely, plead out there specifically to wrestling because I know they've pretty much made it clear, like, they have goals. They're trying to build a brand new facility, which is definitely long overdue. So I would definitely say, again, reach out to them. Again, support all these teams. Amazing teams are doing great things, whether it's softball, track and field, you know, baseball, ice hockey, you name it. All these teams are doing great things right now, and they definitely 100% deserve our support. And I know that us as state fans, hey, all fans love winning, and there's no doubt a lot of our teams right now are doing that winning thing, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, Greg. So I know obviously a lot happened this weekend. And I'm assuming you're still in the Raleigh area, but I mean, any kind of summary thoughts, after all the crazy stuff that's gone on this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, just lots still going on. I mean, we got, there's basketball news out there that's coming pretty soon. It looks like we're going to get potentially some new folks coming in the transfer portal. So stay tuned to that.
Yep.
Nothing official to report, but some guys are definitely coming in and looking at the program. Spring sports are still in full bloom, if you will. We got football, folks trying to raise money for different things, whether, like you said, it's hockey or wrestling. And just to piggyback off that, it's not always about financial support, right? It's just maybe volunteering at different events, your time, maybe if you have some expertise that they could use, whatever it is. So if you've got a calling for it, just reach out to these folks. Worst things they're going to say is no, or maybe just say, hey, hold off, or whatever the case may be. But like you said, if you want to win, then you're going to have to support these programs.
Yep. Yep. And again, I mean, it's just like Greg said. So it doesn't necessarily have to come out of your wallet to support these teams. So just keep that in mind. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. Really appreciate y'all supporting us. And again, obviously, again, it's been a ton of fun so far. And I know one of the things that we've loved this weekend was getting to meet a lot of you in person, which was amazing. And definitely, as always, if you see any of us or whatever it is, feel free, please stop us. We'd love to meet you all and talk to you all, and again, put some faces with these names. But again, if you haven't already, make sure again hit that subscribe button. Again, this is free to do, and also to really help support us. And make sure you don't miss out whenever we release new NC State content. Got a lot of exciting episodes coming up here. Also, too, we did a lot of video recordings. Definitely going to put together some vlogs for some of the awesome events like the spring game and the wrestling and the ice pack. So definitely make sure to stay tuned for that. Also, if you don't mind as well, give this video and all of our videos a like if you don't mind. That way YouTube will put this video and all of our videos in front of more NC State fans, and also to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram if you haven't already as well. But as always, y'all, always a pleasure. And hey, as always, go Pack, y'all. We'll see y'all soon. All right.
Go Pack.